The Analytical Bars Strategy 1 is the next strategy that we'll be covering. So I've loaded up another instance of it on the chart. So this strategy has very similar settings. It's got the standard settings with the buttons as do all the strategies. It has a folder too with some more information and some optimizations and some previous results running the strategy. It also has the feature of using a time slot, a beginning and an end time. Just remember again, if you are using a time slot, that you are unable to trade from PM hours to AM hours. So always use your AM hours first in there. You've got a sound that it can make if you want to choose a specific custom sound for entering a long position and a short position. You've got your daily profit target in US dollars and your daily stop loss, and you can tick the boxes to use those as well. You've got a stop ticks and a target ticks like the other strategies, and also the option to use them or not. The strategy can be traded in trend or reverse. And these are the main settings that we actually adjust when we apply the strategy to a chart. So it has a setting A and a setting B. So the setting A has got quite a few different parameters built into it. It's got to do with time and sales, it's got to do with support and resistance, it's got to do with quite a few basic trade secrets in this number. The setting B is a time filter and a tick delay. So a tick delay is basically how many ticks price has to move before it enters the position. So if you've got an 8-8 bar and you've got an 8 tick delay, it will submit the order only after 8 ticks have completed, after the signal has been given. So always use the tick delay as the size of the bar that you are using. So if you've got an 8-8 bar, either use a 0 tick delay for all the settings, or use the tick delay in increments of 8. So 8, 16, 24, and so on. Because the strategy works on bar close. So you've got to make sure that your tick delay value is matching your bar size. Now, if you don't have it matching exactly, it will still just execute on the close of the current bar where that tick delay is. So that's just a tip for the tick delay. You've got options over here for trading first repaint, second repaint, third repaint, and extra repaint. So if you look at the chart, those repaints are basically the times that the price is breaking through the wall. You can select which signals you actually want to take. So I've only got the first and the second repaint loaded on here. So it's only going to take the first and second signals generated by these brick walls. So sometimes price will bounce around these brick walls, and by having the filter here to remove the third and the extra repaint, it's actually going to limit the amount of orders running. But we'll look at that also in a bit closer. We'll look at that a bit closer. I've added a 3 slippage in this instance for the data. So that is built into the strategy, and I've got this activated on a chart at the moment, which I just loaded up. I've got the first repaint and second repaint selected, and I've got it on the sim account running. So what this does is it's going to plot the positions that the strategy would have taken had those settings been active. So again, I'm using the strategy analyzer for this. But before we look at the strategy analyzer, I'm going to look at the chart itself. So I've just selected a 10-10 analytical bars for this, and I'm using today's data only. So there's various ways of trading the strategy. we're going to be looking at trading very specific data and the current data that we are in. So I've created trading hours templates, and these templates are in the Google Drive folder, so you can actually copy them to your templates folder. So because it is Thursday in the US, I've got 6:15 p.m. to 3 a.m. Wednesday open. So it obviously opened on Wednesday at 6 p.m. I always cut off the first 15 minutes just to avoid the initial manipulation that happens in the first 15 minutes of market open. Sometimes it can move 60 points up or 60 ticks up, 60 ticks down in like the first 5 seconds. So it's just that initial type of manipulation and the initial volatility that happens when the market opens, whether it be the Asian Open or the New York Open, it will throw out any indicator. So I just filter it out as much as I can with this specific strategy, because this strategy works. It's got a lot more to do with having an accurate display of the chart data than some of the other strategies has, because it's got that time filter built into it. So I'm selecting that specific time, and I've got my break at end of day on, and I'm clicking OK. So that's basically going to show me all the data from today, 6:15, or yesterday should I say, 6:15 p.m. New York, up until now, which is basically just gone over midnight in New York. Now, unfortunately, you cannot select just one day on your chart. If you select just one day on your chart, it's basically going to show you not one day but 3 days of data. So it is important that when you are running it in this specific way, you are choosing your very, very specific data, your trading hours template, and that's basically going to give you that specific data that we're optimizing. So when I ran the optimizer, I'm also using that very specific data into my chart. So I've got the 10-10 chart there. I'm using the Wednesday open to Thursday close, and I am running this optimization. So if you'll notice that if you're running a small sample of data, the optimization is going to run pretty quickly. So the more data you're analyzing and the more variance you have in your strategy, it's actually going to just take longer to run. So I ran the first, second, third and extra repaint as part of this optimization. You don't have to do that. You can deselect those ones. Now if you look at the specific trades of this strategy, you're going to notice that the entry name is going to tell you 1111. So it's basically the analytical strategy version 1. It did a buy trade and it is the first repaint. So that number there is going to show you first repaint, second repaint, third repaint, fourth repaint. So those numbers are going to show there. Now because there hasn't been too many signals on this, it's only showing you the one repaint, but it might, so even this one here, it went up to 1 and 2. So the more data you analyze, it's going, and you've got all 4 of these selected, it's going to show you more and more of most of the signals are going to be 1 and 2, but you're going to see the third and the extra filter into the results over here. So for this one here, as an example, let's switch to this chart. So we're going to put on a trend with a 227 with a 0 tick delay. So I go to the strategy. So if you want to change the settings on the strategy, always make sure it's on pause mode. So you go to your strategy and you can disable it over there, and we're selecting a trend. So you can basically just minimize these if you're not using the money management ones and the trading hours template. So this is more for continuous trading, but still exiting on session close. So whatever your trading hours template that you've selected, it's still actually working with that within those trading hours. So this, if I enter any strategies on this specific chart, they're all going to exit at 3 a.m. because that's the trading hours template that I selected on the chart. So the settings that we adjust when we run the optimization is just what the strategy analyzer says. Now unfortunately I can't bring it over. So we had a trend, a 2 and a 27 with a 0. So if I apply that, okay, and I bring that across, it tells you over there. So trend 227 0. So these settings are the best settings that have worked so far today during the Asian session. Now obviously we don't know in the very beginning of the day what what settings are going to be the best, but what we can do, however, is we can run these optimizations throughout the session. So after the session starts, you're going to be able to run the optimization, and it's going to give you the first few trades that the strategy would have entered. And if you activate your strategy, say for example at 9:49 or even 10 p.m. So if you activate your strategy at 10 p.m. based on these settings, then you would have had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would have been in the 6th position at the moment. So basically the last 6 trades, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that's basically where you would be, what your position would have actually been. So starting off, with those specific trades entered. So what we do with this strategy, the idea is to run regular optimizations on with the strategy analyzer. And what this is going to do is it's going to just keep us in the most probable settings that are working for the current market conditions. So you can still also go and plot your trades. So you can run your optimization, you can activate your, just let this just work for a second. So again, when you're running strategy optimizations, it's very good to just let NinjaTrader work. Okay, just let it finish working before you click anything on the chart, because it does consume a high amount of memory, CPU, and read-write data on your hard disk. So it's good just to let it run and then continue working. Okay, so with this here, what it's done is it's run the optimization up until current market price. I'm just going to increase the bar sizes on this chart. So if I go and activate the chart trader here, I'm just going to try and line this up so that it's matching the top and the bottom as much as we can. I guess I can lower, I can do that. So I'm going to activate the crosshair for global no time scroll, and I'm going to do the same over here, global no time scroll. So what this does, actually I should do time scroll, sorry, that's going to be better to use. So global and global, and what this is going to do is it's basically going to pinpoint the trades. Now you'll notice that the top chart and the bottom chart have got different settings on. So if we wanted to switch to any of these settings, say we wanted to switch to this specific setting here, we will work on this is interesting because it's a reverse setting. So this is entering reverse trades during the session from market open. So we'll change the settings on the top chart to a reverse 530. So go into the strategy. We will disable it first. We're going to choose a reverse, a 5 and a 30, and then we're going to enable that. And what that does is it's basically just putting the exact same trades. If you're looking at your chart, just confirm that the same trades are plotting. Okay, now what I've noticed is that the settings are different. Not the settings, the results are different, which means that the settings are not right. So once you've applied the strategy to your chart, have a look at your max drawdown and your net profit and compare it to what the optimizer is giving you. If that is out, if those numbers are way out, that means there's a setting in your strategy that you haven't activated correctly. So looking at your optimization, and I know immediately what happened is I haven't activated all 4 of the repaints in the strategy. Now the good thing is the strategy is not active. Well, it wasn't active until yeah. So I might have had another setting in there. I must go and just go and modify. Okay, so if I go back to this, I'm going to disable that, and immediately I'm going to just go and look through these settings. I've got the auto start. Okay, so you don't have to have the auto start enabled unless you just want the strategy to automatically start trading. So disable the auto start and also the repaint. So if you notice, I had first, second, third and fourth extra repaint in the optimizer, but I've only had the first and the second on the chart. So this is where we go and activate those extra repaints to match the chart optimization. So now if you look at it, it's exactly the same. So the analytic, the drawdown, the accuracy rate, all of that is exactly the same. And as just a very quick one, you can just put your mouse over the previous positions, and that's going to show you the actual executions of the trades that were entered from the beginning of the session. Now you'll notice that you'll see this position over here. You notice where that position is entered. That's because that's a sell position. Okay, so what happens is the strategy is going to enter a position on the close of that bar, but because there's slippage and there's a spread between bid and ask, the actual position that the strategy is going to enter is going to be at this level over here. It's going to be over there. That's where the strategy, that's where, if the chart was trading live, that is where the position is actually going to enter. So if you do not apply slippage, it's going to show the result as the top of the bar, which is completely inaccurate because it's not allowing for any difference between the bid and the ask. And it's the same with a buy with a long position. A long position is going to be also on the close of the bar. So there we go. So because this is on reverse, it's basically trading these reverse positions that the strategy has given. And the same thing over here. The strategy is going to enter a position on the close of the bar, but because there's a difference between the bid and the ask, and it's going to include that slippage in there. So that's why it's very, very important to not only include your commissions in your strategy analyzer, but also a slippage value, especially if it's going to be high frequency trading. So that is a very good, important thing to remember when you're doing your optimizations. You want to try and get as close as possible results to your analyzer as appears on your chart. So there is the trading chart, and we notice that the positions are all basically laid out the same way. Now you're also going to notice that the strategy is not going to act on every single crossover of that brick wall. It has to actually generate a signal. So it's not only based on the coloring of the candles, it's based on what has been programmed into the strategy, and the coloring is just an overall representation of, you know, of trend, or basically of just the common factors of being above or below the brick wall. So that's basically all that is. It's showing the coloring for that. So you're going to notice that signals are going to be entering, but as an example over here, the strategy did not enter a sell position or a buy position over here, because the inbuilt features of the strategy did not pick up a buy condition over there. So that's why this trade specifically went all the way down to there, and then it carried on zigzagging. So that is the idea with that. Now you can go and start the strategy once you're happy with your settings. And what we are hoping to achieve with this is we are hoping to be using the most current settings to determine the heartbeat of the market. So we're trying to do determine what the heartbeat of the market is by running optimization on the very most recent data that we are looking at. So both on the chart as well as the optimizer. So this works beautifully for the Asian session, because you're going to find that from Asian Open, from the New Zealand Open, all the way into the later session. So you've got a good, well, you've got from 6:15, so 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 to 12 to 1 to 2 to 3. You've got basically a 9-hour, a good 6 to 8 hours of consistent market action. So that's why this specific strategy is really good for trading the Asian market. And even if you're based in different areas of the world, if you dedicate a few hours in your evening, if you're based in the US, trading the Asian Open from 6:15 all the way to midnight, 2 or 3 days a week, you're going to be able to catch some very consistent moves in the market, which is very, very unlike the US session that is completely all over the place, completely unpredictable. So not saying that this cannot be used on the US session using a similar type of format where you're analyzing the most recent data. I'm just finding it to be a lot more consistent when using it on the Asian session. So if that is of interest to you, then this is a strategy to definitely look at. You can also go and optimize different values of time. So you can use specific time slots if you don't want to use the trading hours template. You can go and optimize the data series as well. So for example, I'm going to switch this to an 8 and an 8 for the same session. I'm going to run that. Because it's a slower moving market, you can go for the smaller bar sizes trading the Asian session. And if you are going to be trading the busier sessions, you can go for, you must basically select a larger bar size. So that's actually given me a better result by switching over to an 8/8. Obviously the market today hasn't had that much movement, so the smaller bar sizes actually worked very well. So that one there, it's a reverse 646 has proven to be the best setting by changing that bar size. So very few losing positions if you look at the actual analysis of that, or the trades. So you're going to have some really good positions. So we've got, let me just look at the entry name. So there we go. That's another good example of showing you the different entries that were entered. So it entered, so again it's the It's the Analytical Strategy version 1 reverse, sell on the first repaint, buy on the second repaint, sell on the third repaint. So that's when you're using these multiple repaints. If you look at the entry name, it's going to tell you which one it is. Now 4 is the extra, so I should have called this fourth repaint, but that's okay. It's basically got a 4 on it, and it's going to go as high as 4. It's basically going to act on all of those repaint values. If I removed 1, 2, and if I removed 3 and 4, which you would more than likely do during the US session, but you can definitely experiment with this though. So you can remove the third and the fourth. I'm going to run that, and let's just see how much that impacts the data or the results. Okay, so that has an impact on the results too by only selecting 1 and 2. So the top end ones were higher, so there was fewer positions being taken by only having the first 2 selected. If we go to the chart, that's what it looks like. So a few of the different settings to use. So that's what that does. Now the other setting that is modifiable is the tick delay. So we'll have a look at the tick delay. Now we've got an 8/8 bar. Let's actually work on a 4 and a 4 bar. Actually no, let's not complicate it. Let's stay with the 8 and the 8, and I'm going to choose an 8 tick delay. So I'm just putting the tick delay 8/8 minimum and maximum, and I'm going to run that. So that's going to just obviously add that tick delay to the chart. Now notice these actual signals, or the results will actually be different when running a tick delay, because it's going to provide different results. So you can see on these brick walls now, this is what the tick delay does. So the signal is generated on the bar, but because you have a tick delay, it's only going to execute on the next bar, which is the 8 ticks away, and then add any slippage and whatever else comes with it. So that's what the 8 does. So if you've got 0 tick delay, it's going to enter on this bar. If you've got an 8 tick delay, it's going to enter on the following bar. If I make this a 16 tick delay, let's do this as a 16 and run that. It's going to show us something else. So let's just see what that looks like. Okay, so there we go. So that's the 16 delay. So what that has done is it's gone on the third bar. It's entered on the third bar. So that is what the tick delay does. Now you can also go and optimize the tick delay. So you can choose, if you've got an 8/8 bar, so it becomes a little bit technical when you're working and optimizing tick delays too. But once you've become familiar with optimizing the setting A, the setting B, you can start then looking at the tick delays, or you could just leave the tick delays at 0 in the beginning. But as you progress, you can optimize the tick delays. So on this specific chart, because I've got an 8 and an 8, I'm going to be selecting 8 as the minimum, and I'm going to go 24 as the maximum in this example. But I'm going to do increments of 8 because we want to make sure we're matching the bar size. And then when you run that, you're going to notice that the iterations are going to increase based on that, and your optimization is going to take a bit longer to run. And again, just remember, while your optimizations are running, it's consuming a high amount of CPU and memory. Now I think if I upgraded my memory to a 64 gigabyte memory, which I'm actually going to be doing, it will have less of an impact on it. So if you've got a machine that hasn't even got 16 gigabytes, just bear in mind that the optimizations, when they're running, they're going to consume a lot of resources. Okay, so that is giving results now between all the different tick delay values. So there we go. So that's going to tell you that a reverse with a setting A as 10, a setting B as 46, and a 24 tick delay. So it's giving you those values in order there. So once you can read those, the rest is just use ticks and use targets and stops, whatever. But that is what you're looking for. So reverse, 10, 46, 24. And then you can basically filter through the settings, and it's going to give you various settings. And it's strange how all the top results on this strategy have all been with a wider tick delay. All have been on 24 tick delay, or except for this one here, which was 16. But they're all been reverse. So all the top results of this strategy have actually been reverse. In fact, all the results up until $1,000 have been reverse. Using the 1 and 2. Now, if I went and included the third and the fourth repaint, we may even see a scenario of more bouncing around of the price entering and exiting positions by adding in those third and extra repaints. So what happens is when you got the third and extra repaints out, it's not going to act on all the signals. So it's going to be selective of the signals that it's going to be entering positions on. So again, because we've got the extra repaints loaded, we're going to have a slightly larger or longer time for the optimizations to run. So we'll just let that run. And while that is running, we can look through the settings to make sure that I haven't actually missed anything that's of value to mention in the video. So you can also optimize the data series on this strategy. So just like with the advanced retracement strategy and with the strategy line strategy, you can optimize the data series. Now just bear in mind, when you do optimize the data series, it's going to increase the iterations by quite a large amount and take much longer to run. So that's just something to definitely look at. Another thing too is you cannot use the strategy on minute bars. So you can't use it on minute bars. You can, however, use it on volume, on tick, on range, as well as and the DTB analytical bars. So those are the bar types that you can use for this. I wouldn't use Hike and Ashley because it shows a fake opening halfway down the bar, so you're not going to get any accurate results using that. But in the beginning, just work with the analytical bars. Again, just be careful when you're clicking on things, because the optimizer, while it's busy powering down, it's consuming a lot of energy still. So that didn't really impact the overall results by optimizing what we did over there in this last. We added the extra repaints. It's still giving the best results with regards to what settings would have actually worked, or which settings are ideal for this specific session. So again, if your computer does this, that just means that NinjaTrader is basically not responding temporarily. So if you're fortunate, you just leave it for a few seconds and it will actually come right. So I'm always trying to work on limiting the amount of code inside the strategies and limiting the amount of work that the strategies are doing, but just finding it very hard to, because there's so much work in the strategies, because there's so much data actually being analyzed, it's very hard to limit too much. So I have done a lot of limiting, but as it stands now, there's still perhaps a little bit more to do, but at this stage we just have to work with it like this, and hopefully over time NinjaTrader can also improve their platform to be able to accommodate hard working tools that have got a lot of information in them, so that it doesn't get overburdened. Okay, so there we go. There's the strategy. So it's again showing you the reverse positions. This one is acting on all of the repaints. So whatever, just always check your settings in the side of your strategy, and then obviously when you apply them to your chart, that'll be the final visible factor to tell you whether you've got the right settings applied. Okay, so that is basically the analytical strategy. So definitely work with your optimizer. The great thing about this strategy is it's gonna, as with some of the other strategies that we've covered, the two other strategies that we've covered, they're all able to be run through the strategy analyzer. So work with stop ticks and target ticks if that's what you would like to use. So those can also be optimized. You can also optimize certain values between a minimum and maximum value for your stop ticks and your target ticks. And you can optimize the obviously the bar sizes, which we've discussed. You can select specific trading hours that you want to analyze. You can even analyze, for example, specific hours of the day, like that's 1 to 3 p.m. and then you could choose as many days as you want to actually optimize, and then what that will do is it will optimize those specific trading hours that you've selected in your trading hours template, and it will run those results. So I'm just going to remove the tick delay. I haven't done this for a while, those specific hours. I don't know what it's going to come up with, and it's also the US session, so maybe the bar size is not going to be ideal. But running that, we'll just run this as an example and just see what this spits out. So you can see it'll take longer to run because we are analyzing a larger range of data. So like this is the 2nd of May to the 29th of May. So it's analyzing a lot more data, and if you haven't got the data loaded on your PC, it's actually going to be downloading this data from the server. And while it's downloading the data, it's downloading it at the same speed that your PC is receiving it. So it's analyzing the data as you are receiving it, as if it was from the real-time server. So the calculations that it's going to give is based on your speed of your computer. It's based on the speed of your internet and your processing power. So one more very important thing to mention is that the optimizations that you are running on your PC are for your PC only. So you're not going to be able to run the strategy analyzer on one PC and expect that the exact same settings that your analyzer is giving you will work on another PC with a different internet connection, a different distance from the exchange. So your optimization is for your PC only. So that's one of the main important things with the analytical strategy too. And the reason for that is because, as we just discussed, your internet speed, your processing speed is very different. And because the strategy is relying on the chart data that you are receiving and the speed at which it is being received, it is doing those calculations based on your system alone. So quite unique, this strategy in that regard. It's not just like a simple, like a crossover strategy on a bar close. there's a lot of code built into this analytical bars strategy. So, and that makes it just even more powerful for what it can actually accomplish. So that will just give us another 2 minutes while that is busy downloading the data. You can also select your open hours for your trading hours, like we did on the previous strategy. I tend to not use the instrument hours, just because I've often found that at the very beginning of the chart data on the strategy analyzer and the chart data on your chart itself is not lined up properly. So that's very often the case, is you're not going to have accurate data on your chart compared to your strategy analyzer. So I've noticed that quite a few times. Bit difficult to explain right now, but if you've loaded up use instrument settings and you're using the strategy, you're running your optimization, always scroll to the very beginning of the chart and check that the data is all lined up. But apart from that, you can also select your specific trading hours in the strategy settings over there. So the time slot, you can select your time slot trading hours and then optimize it according to that data as well. Again, we're just running on very high CPU at the moment. So while this is calculating, so let's just see what this one brings up. Okay. So this is basically, we analyzed specific trading hours. Okay, so if I go to the chart, it's going to break up those trading hours. So it's going to start at 1 p.m. and trade until 3 p.m. So every single day, that's all the data between 1 and 3 p.m. from the beginning of the data we analyzed. Now, the same thing over here, we're not going to know, if we look at the analysis, we're not going to know on the 6th of May which settings are going to work for the rest of the month. You know, it's impossible to be able to judge that. But what this can do is you can select settings. So you might see something like this happen where the price is rising, and then use those settings from the 17th of May and let them continually run, and then you'll have, you know, then those results. So you might have a few days where it's coming down, but when you're seeing that you start getting successive days in a row profitable, applying those settings based on the previous days, using those exact settings on your chart will generate those results for the following days. So a good thing to do is just to review your chart settings. You might have a situation like this where you've seen a very, very large increase in profit, okay, like this, and on the 14th of May you decide, wow, I'm going to activate these settings in the strategy because it's had this amazing rise. But then unfortunately between 14 and 26 it basically hasn't actually continued that incredible rise in momentum. So you're definitely going to have a situation like that. You're not going to just find settings that are going to continually rise up to the sky. It's just not normal. But if you can get a situation where you're seeing a rise, you may even see a fall and a small rise again, that could also be another opportunity where you could say, well, you know, the numbers, according to the history of the settings, it's been in a nice uptrend. Yes, we did have a downtrend for a couple of days. The next day was an uptrend again. So those are the settings. Those are the results for those specific days. And then you could activate it on the following day and then get those results going forward. So it is really just about optimizing results, and again we're trying to put the odds in our favor of what settings are the best. So I mean, these settings also look incredibly great. I know it is a smaller value in price, but it's only trading between 2 hours a day. So between 2 hours a day over that entire period, it took 21 positions on this specific strategy settings, had a 491 drawdown, and made 8,700. And those are the daily results. So same thing over there. You can, all these results that we are seeing now will show up in your optimization results. So if you want to increase the amount of results that the strategy analyzer is giving you, you can increase that to whatever value you want. And it's going to give you all of these results in the list, and you can basically filter through them and find settings that are maybe progressively increasing. So you might have came across this strategy even on the 15th of May, where you've seen small little declines, a nice uptrend, and you know, it is guesswork at the end of the day of what is going to be amazing going forward, but you could decide to take a low risk type of a strategy, settings like that, where it's not entering too many positions, the losses have not been very high. You might decide to enter using those specific settings, and even if you enter after a large day up like that, your next day would have generated 650, then 32, then 700. So that's basically the luck of the draw with using this, but I don't believe it's completely luck. I think it's going to work on, you know, probabilities, numbers game, same type of thing like this. You're seeing a major rise for 4 or 5 days in a row like that. It is smaller values, but you know, you can also activate those settings, and yes, you might have a few days coming down again and so on, but you can go and optimize that. Like this one over here, unfortunately went up but then started tapering off at the end. Now if we go and run a much larger sample size of those values, so I selected 50 in the results, so it's going to bring up the top 50 results of what the strategy would have performed during those specific trading hours. So we'll just let that run because yeah, it'll just take a bit longer to run. I'll just pause the video while that is actually working. Actually, while that is running, I'm going to just go through one little thing too. So we spoke about using a trading hours template there. So it'll be worth just going into creating a trading hours template. So if you go to tools and you go trading hours, this is going to bring up your trading hours screen. Again, I've got the templates in the folder, but it's good to know how to actually do it. So you can go to any of the templates either that we've created, and like that is the 1 to 130. So you can right click on any template. I often just use, like if I want to create a new one, I go to default 24/5 and I go to copy. I click copy and that creates a duplicate of it, and then I go and select it. So I'm going to choose between, let's go 3 to 5 p.m. New York. So I've always got my time zone set to UTC -5, which is New York time, and in that way, if I'm ever sharing charts, if I'm ever sharing anything on, you know, if I'm sharing any charts, everybody's going to see the exact same time frames on their chart, and everybody needs to be on the same time zone. No matter what your computer clock is set on, just make sure that your platform time is actually set to New York. And that's very important when you are, you know, sharing between different members of your trading team or different members of your business. You can actually share like for like charts. So when I do this, I go and remove Monday to Friday. I double click on this and I say, okay, so we're going to be trading Monday from 3 to 5 p.m. So I make this as a 3 p.m. and to Monday 5 p.m. and I go okay. So that creates Monday 3 p.m. to Monday 5 p.m. Now you can right click on this and click on add Monday through Friday, and that's going to do Tuesday, it's going to do Wednesday, it's going to do Thursday, and it's going to do Friday. Friday 3 p.m. to Friday 5 p.m. So that's at the end of the week. You click on apply after that. So you have to click on apply. If you've created this trading hours template and you click on OK, it will close, but it won't save anything. So I don't know why it does that, but always click on apply so that it actually saves it. And then OK. So always be in the habit of clicking apply and OK. I even do that on my strategies. I don't just click on OK once I've enabled it. I'm always going apply and OK. It's just a habit that I got into. And then that's created. So if we had to run a, that will be in your list now. You see your 3 to 5 p.m. It will be in there. Alright, so there are the results running 50 different, there's 50 results. So again, you can also go and cycle between your max drawdowns, and you can look at what settings have given me the best results over a period of time. You could say, okay, well, this is 14 trades, but obviously we're looking at today's data, okay, up until today. So that if you look at the chart, well, it's not going to be today because it's going to be up until yesterday New York close, which is 3 p.m. But it's giving you the last days on your chart. So if you look at the analysis, it's got the 4th of May, 6th of May, 12th, 13th, and 19th of May. So it's not even up until now. These, based on those specific settings, so a reverse 28, 24 with an 8 tick delay, the strategy's only entered 14 positions during that whole period. So as an example, if you on the 10th of May looked at the results, so you would have seen the 4th of May, the 6th of May, you only would have had 2 results. Let's go on the 12th. So after the 12th of May, you have seen that there's been 2, 4, 6 trades entered, all at 100% accuracy. If you go and apply that for the start of the 13th, then on the 13th of May, you would have had 2 trades, and on the 19th of May, you would have had 6 trades at a $3,500 profit. Had you have selected these specific settings and had them running. Now, there were obviously days between there where there were no trades entered. So back to the chart, you're going to notice that there are going to be days where there's no trades entered at all between those specific trading hours. So there actually we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the 6th. It had 6 days where there were no trades entered. But on those specific days, it actually entered positions. So those are the trades. So this is an infrequent, obviously a very infrequent type of setup. On this, only entering very few positions using those very specific settings. So that's how robust this strategy actually is. It's got so many different ways of actually trading on it. There are so many different options to use with different bar sizes. We haven't even looked at all the different instruments. You can trade this on any instrument. You can obviously optimize any set of data. You can optimize any trading hours, or you select any trading hours. We haven't even touched the stop ticks and target ticks for optimization, which is over here. So this strategy can actually keep you going for many, many years, and there's probably 100 different things that I haven't even thought about of how to optimize or what to optimize to get incredible consistent results. So definitely experiment with this. I hope this video has given you a little bit of insight, or it's helped you think out the box a little bit and come up with some ideas of how to run this strategy, working with all the different settings, working with all the different features of it. If you've got the engineering mindset, this will be very, very fascinating for you to work with. Maybe very complicated for some people. Some people might just like the strategy, which is very simple. It's got the 2 settings in it, very simple, and run with that. But if you want to get more involved, more in depth, and work on much longer time frames, this is a very fascinating strategy to work on. All right, so that is that. The next strategy we're going to look at in the next video is the Analytical Bars Strategy 2. Now, before you freak out and think, oh my God, there's 2 of them, it's going to be double complicated. The second one is not as complicated as the first one. It's a little bit easier. The results of strategy 2 are not as, it hasn't got as many settings in it, so it does not have a tick delay in the second strategy. It also doesn't have so many different types of repaints. Actually, it's got arrows. That's basically replacing the repaints in this strategy. But it's a little bit more simple to set up. It's a little bit more simple to optimize and run. And we'll go through that in the next video. So thank you, and